Following up on my main channel segment about Donald Trump's looming executive order, it would seem that Twitter, Jack Dorsey are, dare I say, panicking over what's about to come. If you haven't seen the segment, head over to timcast.net. It's been live as of 4 p.m., but I'll give you a quick context if you missed it. Basically, Trump is set to sign an executive order. By the time you're watching this, maybe he already did it, basically asking the FCC to clarify the rules around Section 230, meaning, long story short, Twitter could lose their Section 230 protections if they're deemed to be a publisher versus a platform. It's kind of murky territory, but the general idea is that Trump is trying to combat censorship. Twitter fact checks 2-month-old tweets by China as Trump threatens web giants with bias investigations following outcry over accuracy warning on President Trump's tweets. The reason why I believe Jack Dorsey and many other platforms are probably freaking out right now is because, well, for one, this is a pending executive order, but in Jack Dorsey's position specifically, he fact-checked Donald Trump's opinion. This was a huge, huge mistake. Like, I'm talking, wow, level of mistake. If you're going to argue that you're a platform, not a publisher, the last thing you want to do is alter the content produced by people who are just opining on your platform. But Jack Dorsey, I should say Twitter, because I don't know if it was him directly, but he's the one taking responsibility for it, altered Donald Trump's tweet to send you to the opinions of people who don't like Trump. That is complete editorializing. Well, this isn't the perfect answer, but it seems like to avoid any question of political bias, they're now fact-checking tweets by China. This is also following out, I don't want to say outcry, but a statement by Mark Zuckerberg basically dragging Twitter. What do you call it when you have an emotional satisfaction? Catharsis, I suppose. Schadenfreude. Whatever. Let's read what happened. Twitter has fact-checked 2 tweets by China after it caused a political storm in the U.S. by flagging 2 of Donald Trump's tweets for accuracy, sparking fury from the president and accusations of bias. The social media giant added exclamation point warnings to tweets by China's foreign ministry spokesman, accusing the U.S. of starting the coronavirus pandemic. The timing of the fact checks coincide with the political fallout in America from Twitter's decision to add accuracy warnings on 2 of President Trump's tweets claiming mail-in election ballots were substantially fraudulent. The decision to single out 2 of the president's tweets for fact-checking led to furious accusations of anti-conservative bias in the U.S. Trump is now threatening to sign an executive order today, which could expose Google, Facebook, and Twitter to government investigations into allegations of bias and more lawsuits. But amid the row, Twitter singled out tweets by China's foreign ministry spokesman, Li Jianzhao, accusing the U.S. Army of starting the coronavirus pandemic. He said it might be the U.S. Army, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know why Twitter's doing this? They're like, we're not biased. See, look, no, we're not. It's not just Trump. It's China, too. Donald Trump, in his executive order, specifically called out China. Okay, this is it. The draft of the executive order got leaked. I'm sure that Twitter saw it and they immediately were like, quick, censor China. What do we do? Maybe they got heads up on this first because there were some reports coming out. I don't know when exactly it leaked, but they're trying to make it seem like they're not biased. All right. How about you go and fact check every politician for every false claim? How about you fact check Joe Biden, who lied with the Very Fine People hoax? But before we move on with the story, I've got to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield is a virtual private network service. It's basically a program you can download that provides your internet browsing with a basic layer of security. There are hackers, there are government agencies, there are general nefarious actors who want to break into your system, steal your data, and a VPN is one simple way to protect yourself. Now, I always tell people, look, you have locks on your doors and windows, but you don't expect people to break in, but you still do it. And to be honest, if somebody really wanted to, they could break the lock on your door, but you still have that lock, right? Because it makes sense to have basic security. Right now, if you go to hidewithtim.com, you can get 50% off your virtual private network service. It's just $2.50 per month. I'm eternally grateful to Virtual Shield for sponsoring my channel. They're one of the few sponsors I actually have, and I think it's a great service. So if you want to take your internet security seriously, check out hidewithtim.com. The link will be in the description below. But let's get back to the main story. They love running this fake story where they claim that Trump said some pretty nasty people were very fine people, but they removed the context where Trump said, I condemn the white supremacists totally. Or he said they should be condemned totally and was talking about someone else. They removed that. They edited it. Twitter does nothing. So yeah, Twitter is biased. And now they're worried. What do they do? Here's where it gets funny. When asked about President Trump's expected executive order on social media platforms, Nancy Pelosi did not hold back her criticism of the companies. All they want is to not pay taxes. Yes, Nancy Pelosi, basically, they say that she slammed the companies for pandering to Donald Trump and giving him what he wants, because in the wake of this pending executive order, they may actually have to, I don't know, do their jobs and be held to a certain standard. Now, this move from, I want to elaborate on what Mark Zuckerberg said. I did briefly talk about Mark Zuckerberg in the main segment, but I want to really dive into him specifically because he's trying to play it up like, here's what he said. We have a different policy than I think Twitter on this. He wants to make it seem like, oh, no, we're not going to fact check and we're going to be hands off. Let me tell you a funny story. Prager University, you may be familiar with, published a screenshot of a tweet. It made several claims about immigration. It was fact checked by Facebook. So when I saw it appear in my feed, or I think I went to their site, I could see that it said, this has been fact checked by Facebook, and you have to click a warning before reading the tweet. It was like a screenshot. They linked to an article which backed up everything Prager you had claimed 100%. I went, wait a minute. So here's what I did. I took the same screenshot. I made a new image. This time in my post, I linked directly to the fact check article and said something like, this article backs up everything in this image. And they flagged my content as false too. Yeah, Mark, you're lying. Okay. They're all lying. They're all sure. You know what? Maybe Pelosi's right. They just don't want to pay taxes. That's what it's all about, huh? They're all liars. All they want to do is sell ads. They don't want to deal with the controversy. And hey, to a certain degree, I can respect that. But you know what? This is the territory that you've entered. And if you want to play games, you reap what you have sown. So Mark, no, I don't buy it. You censor people outright all the time. You banned on Instagram Paul Joseph Watson, and he had this just like him smoking cigarettes in the sunset. Look, if you're mad that Paul Joseph Watson's got opinions and he's on Facebook, you don't like him, I get it. But why ban the dude from Instagram when it was literally photos of him like, he's like making a face, he's got a cigarette in his mouth, and he's like doing a selfie shot. It's like, you know what, man? I don't want to play games. I'm not going to sit here and take these lies from you. Oh, well, we're better than Twitter. We wouldn't do that. No, you're not. You're just as bad. It's just that you're not getting called out because you didn't go after the president. You go after the smaller channels. Politico reports Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg argued Wednesday that private companies should not be the arbiter of truth online, implicitly rebuking fellow tech titan Jack Dorsey after the Twitter CEO flagged a pair of President Donald Trump's posts with fact-check warnings that provoked the White House's ire. We have a different policy than, I think, Twitter on this one, Zuckerberg told Fox News host Dana Perino in an interview set to air Thursday. I just believe strongly that Facebook shouldn't be the arbiter of truth of everything that people say online. I think in general, private companies probably shouldn't be, or especially these platform companies, shouldn't be in a position of doing that. Oh, I love it. I love it. See, here's the problem. A new story broke from the Wall Street Journal. Facebook knows that their algorithm was radicalizing people. What do? Nothing. They swept it under the rug. They're now trying to pass it off like, well, we shouldn't be the arbiter of truth. No, your algorithm is exploiting people and making people go insane. There's a big difference between algorithmic promotion and censorship. A lot of people complain about YouTube. They say, I posted a video and then YouTube, won't recommend it or whatever. And I've always maintained this. In most of my videos on my main channel, I'll say, share the video because YouTube pushes my channel down and props up the mainstream media. I'm not making a dig at YouTube for doing it. I don't think YouTube is under any obligation to promote my content so long as it's visible. I did complain recently because YouTube shadow banned one of my videos. Hey, if I make a video and it's legal speech and it's important, you should allow people to see it if they choose to. You don't have to promote it. So I get it. It might hurt me and my income, but as long as the video is available for people to seek out and find, I'm cool with that. Facebook has an algorithm, and the algorithm chooses what you see. How about this, Facebook? How about if you want to claim not be the arbiter of truth, you remove the algorithm and it's just chronological order. So when someone posts, it pops up. Done. End of story. No, Facebook wants to maximize the amount of time you spend on site so they can maximize ad sales. I get it. What that means, though, is they want to make sure the content they're feeding you is more likely to get attention from you. So they made an algorithm to do that. It then spreads fake news. And then when people complain and say, dude, look at all the fake news on your platform, they're like, well, we're not the arbiters of truth. I mean, the first thing they do is they bend over backwards for the left, start censoring all this content, go way overreach and start censoring legitimate news from conservative outlets. And then they eventually just say, oh, well, we're not arbiters of truth. Nah, spare me, dude. It's a lie. It's a game. The easiest way to solve Facebook's problem, okay? No more fact checking, period. Get rid of all of it. And then when someone posts, it appears. It's that simple. Because then if someone spreads fake news, so what? People spread fake news to each other all the time. I went to Walgreens like a couple weeks ago, and the lady was talking nonsense about Bill Gates and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. No, I mean, it was like real crazy stuff. I understand there's a lot of weird things about Bill Gates people have been sharing, but I mean like just off the rails. Like, these, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to get into it. Let me just tell you, it was discernibly absurd, like mask conspiracies and like government withholding stuff. And I'm like, okay, Facebook is me talking to my friends and family. All right. I mean, I don't really use Facebook, to be honest. But if someone makes a post and they're like, Uncle Bill telling his thoughts on Trump or whatever. Yeah, it happens all the time. Uncle Bill's always got opinions. Now they just talk more. The problem arises with the algorithm selecting certain content for maximum viewership, because then what gets propped up is the most insane conspiracy nonsense. Videos, photos, and articles. It's then exploited by websites, and that's the big problem. You want to deal with this? I'll tell you what. Twitter should not be playing this game at all. Facebook should not, and YouTube shouldn't either. But YouTube's very different from the rest of them, okay? Now, with YouTube, we're getting into dangerous territory. We really are, because, YouTube is getting really close to being like an employer and being liable for the things people publish. I don't want to get into that, but I will tell you, if you're interested in that take, I do talk a bit more over at timcast.net in my 4 p.m. segment. However, I'll wrap it up there. The gist of this is that, the social media companies are freaking out and trying to pander desperately. Mark Zuckerberg's pandering to Trump is like, no, we wouldn't do that. And Jack Dorsey is like, but I'll ban China too. We get it. Now you're worried because Trump has waved the sword. But stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up for you in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.